Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. In this episode of the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, Joshua Joosten, owner of Sequoia Painting, Fred Hamilton Emery, owner of Hamilton Painting, and Cole Palea, owner of Novo Painting, discuss the upcoming PCA Residential Painting Conference. They will lay out what's included, the value you're likely to receive if you plan to attend, and their experience with other PCA events like PCA Residential Painting. If you want to ask Josh, Fred, or Cole questions related to anything in this podcast, you can do so in our exclusive Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook. Just search for Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook and request to join the group, or type in the URL facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. Again, the URL is facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. There you can ask Josh, Fred, or Cole questions directly by tagging them with your question so you can see how anything discussed here applies to your particular painting company. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Gang is back together. Got the wonderful residential committee here. Sans a couple valuable members, but we got together who we could.
They're missing out on the party, Brandon. That's their fault.
It is their fault. Cool, man. I'm excited for this. This is coming up pretty soon. Who wants to just lay out the overall details, date, location, just kind of set the framework here?
I'll get going on that. So we want everybody to join us at the residential conference in Minnesota at the Graduate. Dates are the October 24th and October 25th. They actually just extended the hotel reservations to the 11th of October, which is this Friday. So if you plan on joining us, make sure you get that discounted hotel fee by the 11th of October.
Awesome. How long is the conference?
It's a 2-day conference, the 24th and 25th. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So for obviously we've all gone to a lot of PCA events. We've gone to Expo and quite a few other events. And it seems like one of the things that the PCA has been doing more recently is these kind of more micro events, right? So Expo, there'll be 1,000, 1,200 people there. It's pretty big, kind of like Super Bowl of painting events. But then you'll come to something like this, and there might be, maybe 100 people? How big is this?
That's the goal. About 100 people is the goal. We had similar events last year that came close to that amount of people. The intimate environment really helps us, get a little bit more vulnerable, I think, when we're close knit like that, and the camaraderie gets stronger. You don't get lost in this big exhibition room, which is great. I mean, for Expo, but in these regional ones, I think that's where the biggest value gets pulled from. Is those intimate conversations, really being able to dig down to the nitty gritty, and feeling safe, I think, in that environment, not threatened or like you got a posture or say I got 20 guys, or 20 vans. Nobody really cares. It's the same problems that we all got going on.
I got 21 vans.
Yeah.
I just
put up an extra one.
Because you threw the number out. I thought it was interesting how I just have one more, but yeah.
The pressure is on now. The pressure is on.
I ruined it.
Yeah.
No, that's a really great point. How, like last year was like the biggest attendance we've had at Expo in, a long time, like on, recent record, right? So funny thing was there's people I know that went, I didn't see them the whole time. there were just so many people there, which was it was amazing, right? And everybody had a great time. But yeah, to your point, like, being able to have, a much smaller sample size of people, like you're gonna run into a lot more people a lot more frequently. It helps foster those, those new friendships. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we all do this, right? Is we want to get to know a lot of other painting contractors who are in similar situations and have similar experiences as we do. So being able to actually, cross paths with the same person multiple times, at an event rather than like, oh yeah, I saw that person on Monday, but I haven't seen them since. Like literally haven't seen them anywhere because there's just so many people. It's I think for the subject matter that we're kind of honing in on here, it's going to be a lot nicer to have that smaller group setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I love Expo, and none of us are speaking poorly of Expo, but it's a
No,
different kind of experience.
it's like mind blowing of an experience, put it that way. Like if just just a plug for Expo, if anybody's never been, you have to go for sure. But yeah, this is gonna be different and different in they both have their positives and I can't really say there's any negatives either. To go in at Expo, I mean, it was just amazing. So I'm looking forward to both of them.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
So you said, Fred, that this kind of event's really good for the theme. Let's get into that a little bit, what the theme of this event is.
Yeah, so I know last year there was a theme which was contractor wellness, right? And I really wish I could have made it to last year's event. I know it was a really great time, and a lot of people got a ton of good content out of it and good kind of mindset shifts. So we decided as a committee to make building and strengthening habits our theme this year, which is a little bit of a continuation of, like contractor wellness, right? In essence, the habits that we either consciously or mostly subconsciously develop and live every single day are the things that really, whether we'd like to admit it or not, your habits really have a lot to do with your success or what's holding you back from it, right?
Yeah, I think your use of the word subconsciously there is interesting too, because whenever we talk about habits, I'm always thinking of things we're intentionally doing. Like I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna have my morning list, or I'm gonna do my cold plunge or whatever it is that I'm gonna do. That's the habit of winning entrepreneurs. But these subconscious, these unconscious habits, these basically default patterns that we fall into, example, getting caught up in your emails and allowing emails to dictate your day, are typically the reason you're not as successful as you want to be, and you may not even be noticing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm really excited to have so many different presenters talking about the habits that, that we don't even necessarily know about, right? That, for each one of the different topics. There's what I think we've got somewhere between 8 and 10 different topics that we're going to be having presenters on, and everyone is that was our ask for all the speakers, was to really keep that common theme of like when it comes to marketing, right? Like what are your marketing habits? Whether that's what you're consciously doing, are you posting on socials, regularly? What channels are you using, or even the unconscious habits like. I can tell you one that, a lot of people talk about on the internet and probably not enough is that, when you take videos on a job site, is everybody wearing, PPE? Are people wearing masks when they're spraying? Like that's one of the biggest, fails that I see contractors post videos all the time. I'm like, I get it. He's outside. A lot of people, don't take that extra step and wear a mask while they're spraying. But you know what? That's a really bad habit because I've literally heard of OSHA coming on people's job sites and finding them because of something that you posted on social. So, some of the habits you don't even think about that, like, oh yeah, that's actually a bad habit that I've got, or maybe one of my crew members isn't doing the right thing all the time. And, it can create problems if you're not careful. So
Yeah. With the idea of habits too, I think continuing education is a habit, right? So just going to an event like this is a habit of investing into yourself in terms of becoming a better entrepreneur, better business owner, better leader, and ultimately improving your wealth, right? And profitability and whatever that looks like for you.
We all get in our flows, right? And I can say that the reboot is like an annual flow that we hit, right? Like our company goes to them. It's like it's a recharge for us. And now these regional events are becoming that too, right? Where it's another habit where it's helping us keep that momentum, keeps us in check, keeps us staying in that rhythm. And part of that rhythm is our habits that we're trying to create for ourselves. And a lot of times I think we all share the same faulty parts of it, right? Like we all got the same habits that we all gotta work on. And all of a sudden you don't feel alone, right? Like, man, I just gotta be able to put it down so I'm not opening my computer up when I get home at night so I feel buried by my work, right? Like everybody's got that problem, it seems. And every time we had a committee meeting, Fred is over there slinging his brush and roller, and like he's in the middle of it all, and we've all been there. We can feel for him there in that moment, and yet we still gotta get payroll. We still gotta make sure there's money in the bank for payroll. And all of that. And I think we all share in those same struggles. So, coming to these events like this and creating this habit to recharge in, is a positive thing, I think.
Yeah. One of the things I want to note too is I like how there are these smaller events. They're different parts of the country, so easier for certain people to get there. But really, the event is built around a specific theme or service. In this one, obviously, residential painting. There's also a commercial painting conference. There's a women in paint conference. There's PCA en Español conference. So they're these smaller, more targeted events, kind of more niche events, which allow the PCA and the event and really all the presenters to dive deeper than maybe they would at Expo, which is going to cover this huge breadth and kind of anything and everything you could ever know. You go to these localized events and you can go a level deeper potentially in terms of that specific subject
Yeah.
matter.
I agree with that 100% because I mean, like I said, I love the main expo and stuff, but a lot of the times I get a lot of knowledge doing a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and getting more out of that conversation than you will doing sitting in a room full of 1,000, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I think this one's going to be more structured that way, more intimate for everybody to gather and be a little closer to each other and be able to get a little bit more information out of it. And then again, not to say that you don't get information out of the main expo, but definitely it's going to be more smaller base conference to where you can pick up some more things.
Yeah. Yeah. For people who are listening who either haven't been to one of these or haven't been to an expo, I would encourage you to go to both. If you're gonna be able to choose two events, go to expo and choose a smaller event. Residential painting will be a very, very good event. And you can kind of compare and contrast, but they're both going to give you different things. They're both going to be super, super valuable. Who wants to kind of give us a rundown of what the agenda looks like?
Go for it, Fred.
Fair enough.
Fred,
I mean,
are
I
you
guess
the
I
MC?
guess I
Is that official?
no, I'm not. I almost was going to be the MC. Thankfully, I'm not because I've never MC'd an event, and there was yeah.
Do we know who
Thankfully,
the MC is?
we've got Morgan actually, Morgan
Okay.
Zion who did it last year. So thankfully, we've got
Great.
a returning veteran of the event. Because yeah, we weren't sure if she was going to be available, and it was like everybody's looking around like who's going to do this, and I'm like, I mean, hey, I'll I'm the village idiot. I'll do it if I need to, but I'm not going to do it
Hey,
justice the way
in
she is,
in Brandon's own words from last year, we're all friends.
That's right.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was
Well, he's
embarrassing.
not off the hook though that easy though. Next year he'll probably do the MC on next year's residential conference.
I guess that's that was the thing. It was like, well, if if we need somebody to do it next year, I'll take notes this year and maybe I'll try my hand at it. But I did actually volunteer to do a talk, which I'm still developing that talk, but it's going to be a good one. It's about the power of habits. So it's going to be interesting because Morgan is doing a talk on the science of building and strengthening habits. And then I'm going to be doing one about the power of it. So she's the expert, you know. I'm just a painting contractor. So all I can do is kind of relate what some good and bad habits have done, you know, for and against, you know, myself and my business in the last almost 10 years. We've been in business officially 9 years as of August. So there's there's a lot of things that, you know, you hit a certain stride with and you're like, hey, those are good habits. And, you know, certain things you're like, oh yeah, we've got to change that. So I got some things I want to talk about there. But I'm probably one of the least qualified people to give a talk at this thing. So we'll go through the list of all the people who are actually, you know, proven track records of success. You've got obviously Nick Slavic. He's one of the headliners here. Since we're going to be in Minneapolis, he and Jason Paris are each going to do talks, as well as they're going to do a joint talk at the end. So basically, between the two of them, we've got three different subjects right there. Um, Essentially, Jason is going to do one on. Well, Nick and Jason, they're going to do one basically on the future of the painting industry, and I want to say, I mean, Jason's an economist, you know, by nature, right? He was, I know that's what he went to school for before he started his painting company and Olive Holdings and everything. So he's got a great background in economics, and hopefully he talks a little bit about the habits of all of the client base that we all have, right? Because people's spending habits are very different this year. It's, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and hopefully maybe he can shed some light on that. But yeah, aside from that, Nick is going to
Get
be
some,
doing one on leadership habits.
should get some questions queued up for Jason. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Because that is, by the way, one thing we're going to try to do is if time allows, we've got a lot of speakers, so there's a lot to get through in 2 days, but we do want to try to do Q&A with anybody that we can. So anybody who's coming, you know, if you've got questions for any of these speakers, you know, think of them ahead of time, or as you're listening, you know, by all means, there's going to be time for that.
And aren't we doing it a little differently in regards to the speakers are only going to be a 45-minute,
Yep.
give or take, and then we're going to do a 15, 20-minute Q&A at the end of each topic? Isn't that kind of the goal?
Yeah, and actually, to that point, we're gonna try to structure it. So if anybody's ever been to Expo and they know what the brain meld sessions are, we're doing kind of a hybrid take on that. So I know the last residential conference I went to was 3 years ago, and they had roundtable discussions where, you know, basically one topic or question gets put up on the board, and everybody, you know, at each table just discusses that for, you know, however many minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And that way, kind of everybody's talking about the same things. Whereas if you go to Expo, there's what's called brain meld sessions, where each table becomes a different subject matter, and there's a subject matter expert that will help kind of facilitate the conversation. So what we've decided to do is, rather than have, you know, one or the other, we're going to try to do or a roundtable brain meld session right after each one of the speakers, so that specific topic can then, you know, as a group at your table, we can dive into it and you can discuss it while it's still fresh in everybody's mind. And, you know, we're going to ask each one of the speakers to come up with a list of questions to spark those conversations. So I think it's going to be really good because it kind of keeps everybody engaged the whole time, rather than like, okay, well, I'll just wait until the end of the day and we'll all get together at tables. Like, no, let's keep the conversation going all day, because that's what, you know, that's what gets people talking and creates new friendships, right?
It's awesome. Yeah, it really capitalizes on the more intimate setting too. Of the 100 people or so, you're gonna get to know people really well when you're doing those exercises throughout the whole conference.
Yeah. So I finally pulled up the list here. So we've got Daniel Honan from Bookkeeping for Painters. He's going to be talking about financial habits. We've got Michael Cheney, who is actually one of the champions of the Women in Paint Conference. She's got a lot going on her schedule right now. She's going to join us as well, and she's going to talk about consistency and changing lives through paint is the name of her talk. We've got Micah Stelter, who is the VP of sales for, I think, the entirety of Paris Painting. I'm not sure if I know he's one of the partners for Olive Holdings as well. And so, guy's got, tons of knowledge about sales. He trains a lot of salespeople. So he's gonna do a talk for us. And then we've got, what was there? There's actually two different panel discussions we're doing. Brandon, I know you're going to lead one of those. And we've got Nate Streeter, who is he's head of marketing for Paris Painting, and I think also all of the Olive Holdings companies. And then Zach Kenny, who everybody knows from Instagram. He's a brilliant marketer. Has done tons of things on Instagram, and just between the three of you guys, I'm really looking forward to that panel discussion to learn more about what habits I need to adopt and change with my marketing.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah,
That's going to be an awesome one right there.
really. No, that's to get the three of you guys. I'm glad we gave you a nice long time slot too, because I know between the three of you, there's tons of stuff you're going to cover and talk about, and that's going to be a good one for sure. Finally, we've got the organizational habits. Basically, there's a panel discussion with several of the founding members of Olive Holdings, as well as some of their key management roles within the organization, and they're doing a pretty big panel discussion and some Q&A about that. So it's going to be interesting to hear from them about what kind of habits they've developed within each segment, each role and responsibility in such a large organization that's helped them grow and scale. So yeah, there's a lot of really good talks that are going to happen. I'm looking forward to it.
What about the events outside of the presentations?
I don't know what it looks
Yeah, I
like.
guess Olive Holdings is gonna host a tailgating party for all of us. I think that's gonna be one of the
It's gonna be
hidden
awesome.
hidden gems of the whole thing, because in the area in Minnesota, just with the gathering of painters that they have there, they got a lot of energy of contractors, and of course Slavic and Nick, Jason Paris, and then you got all the suppliers there. I mean, the Graco and the Titan. So there's a buzz of energy in there, and I'm pretty excited and looking forward to seeing what that brings out to the conference, and maybe we'll feel that a bit at the tailgate,
Is
go
that
off,
at their,
but
is that at their headquarters?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's gonna be
Apparently, I think Minnesota is actually playing a Thursday night home game there.
Yeah.
So
It'll be fun.
they're telling everybody to wear their best jersey, and gonna have some TVs, and I'm not sure what kind of entertainment they're gonna have as far as live music and stuff, but there'll be food, and it'll be a great evening for sure.
Man, that'd be a good time.
Yeah.
They polka, right? Don't they polka out there?
Right. So I know there's also going to be a welcome reception. So anybody who's going to be coming into town on Wednesday, there is going to be a welcome reception at the hotel. So kind of a happy hour style event, and we have a closing reception on Friday. We're still working through some final details because we don't want to be outdone. I know there were some really good events that have been put on as kind of the closers for some of these other events, and we're like, yeah, we need to get somebody local, whether it's Sherwin-Williams or one of the local suppliers, or even Graco, Titan. We're gonna get somebody to hopefully make that a really a banger of an event, as the kids say, right? I mean, it's going to be Friday night. Everybody's going to be done with the conference. I know who's going to be flying out on Friday night, right? I know most people are going to stay. So we're going to, as a committee, we're working through. That's one of the final details to make that a good event. So
And for people who are listening and want to read more specific details about this, you can go to pcapainted.org. That's pcapainted.org, and then click the events drop down, go to live events, and you can see the PCA Residential Conference. You can register, read the details, all of that. So what would you guys say, I guess, to people who, this stuff costs money, right? And it costs money, it costs time. You have to go there, you have to get a hotel, fly, take the time off work, pay for the ticket. How should people be thinking about that, especially as we head into winter?
Continuing education, right? I mean, that's what we talked about earlier. This is first off, it's a write-off, the whole thing. Talk to your accountant if you don't believe me. Definitely it's continuing education. To me, what I've realized several years ago was that something like Expo is just built into our annual budget, right? Like once I went to the first Expo, I'm like, I'm not going to not go to this every year, right? But now that there's all these other smaller events, trying to make it to at least one of these, every year is also a really, I think it's crucial. Not only is it at a separate time of year, right? So like we're going into the slow season. Like Cole mentioned, it's kind of a reboot time for everybody. Everybody just came off of the, a busy summer, and now whether things are slow for you during the winter or not, it's a great time to really just kind of wrap your head around what can you do to change things, I mean, you've got the slow season to make changes, right? Before things ramp up again in in January, February, or even if it's next spring. So I think it's a great investment personally. And it's not as expensive as going to, like a week-long event like Expo, essentially depending on where you are in the country, you could be working Wednesday morning, so you could put in an entire half a week before you get on a plane and come join us. So
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and it gets it's a tough one, right? Because you're heading into slow season, holidays, all of that. And a lot of contractors I'm talking to now, they haven't had the most busiest of summers right now. And it's a hard decision. And what I say to that is if you want a way to grab the bull by the horns and you feel like hopeless, you don't know how to change direction of where your business is going or what it looks like ahead or all of that. Like this is a great way to just grab that bull by the horns and take control and invest in yourself, and find some sort of calmness to this, right? Because we're grabbing that bull because we want to take control and we want to do something, take some actionable steps, move forward. And sometimes these kind of events help us do that. Yeah? They help it motivate us all. So that's what I'd say to people thinking about it.
Yeah, I really like the idea of building it into the budget. So there's the concept in the book, profit first, and how if you don't carve profit out of your company and kind of make that the first thing that you pull out, then a lot of times you'll end up not having any profit because it just seems to always find its way to different expenses. I think you can do a similar concept here where you take money and you set it aside and it's always budgeted for certain events and certain continuing education is going to happen no matter what. Because otherwise that will be a thing that will get cut if there's a slow summer. For example, this year, a lot of people had a little slower summer that maybe they're not feeling as confident. But we're all playing a long-term game. And if you make the right moves day in, day out, year in, year out, 5 years, 10 years from now, you're going to be a whole lot farther along than if you're just kind of cutting corners left and right. And I think trying to go to one of these a year too, right? Go to Expo and then try to go to at least one of these smaller ones. Then it's not overwhelming. It's not an insane amount of events, but it's enough that you can create meaningful impact for your business.
Well,
And even building relationships with people, I mean, it's priceless, when it comes to, as I've learned, met you, Brandon, through this. I'm sure if I have any kind of marketing question, you're a text away or email away saying, I'm having these issues right now. What can I do? Cole, same thing, Fred, anybody throughout this PCA, you're having some kind of issue in your organization or something, somebody somewhere has figured out that situation at some point, and so you can't put a dollar amount on that kind of knowledge when you're able to just text somebody, give somebody a call saying, hey, I'm having this issue right now. Have you dealt with this? Oh yeah, this is the way I've handled it. And, yes, they may look, the event may cost you a couple $1,000s by the time it's all said and done, but having the knowledge and the friendships is priceless. You can't put any kind of dollar amount on that at all.
So I actually can put a dollar amount on last time I went to no, seriously, last time I went to residential conference, the residential forum conference 3 years ago. I went with the intention of making one very specific shift in our company. And I just really needed the support, and I needed to get the expertise from other people who had done that before. Essentially, we decided to shift from using W-2 employees over to 1099 subcontractors. And I had a lot of head trash about it, a lot of limiting beliefs. And put it this way, during that 2-day conference, I think it was after the first day, I made a phone call to my sales rep at my paint store and said, hey, who do you know that I can start subbing to? Because I know I need to make this shift. Found somebody right away. I mean, literally by the next week, we all of a sudden had subs that we were using. So for a dollar amount shift, put it this way, that next year we had 85% revenue growth from the previous year, just from that one major shift that we made. And I can safely say that we wouldn't have been able to achieve that if we had stuck with the same model we were using. Now, of course, now I'm at 3 years later, I'm actually transitioning back for other reasons, but it's really it was priceless. Tons and tons of revenue growth that we had just from being able to go and be around people that could share their expertise and just get me out of that that mindset rut of like, oh no, this isn't possible, right? So there's your dollar amount right there. 85% revenue growth, quantifiable.
Pretty good dollar amount. And that's just the year after, right? Because that's your immediate impact of what happened.
Yep.
But you keep in touch with those people, and it's one of those things that pays dividends for a very long time and kind of compounds upon itself. You just have to get in the habit of growing and networking and just going to things like this. And then too, Fred, you came in and you actually took something actionable away from it. And I think one mistake that people do sometimes make at these events is they go get kind of overwhelmed, but then don't necessarily actually act on anything. And so I think if you, rather than try to act on everything, which is our natural impulse, we have so many good ideas, we just want to do them all. You just say, hey, I know that that's not going to happen. It's just impossible. But let me pick one thing or two things, and I'm actually going to do them. And then you'd be amazed at the impact that can have. Where a couple $1,000 investment, while it is substantive, can seem negligible after the benefits play out.
And you hit the nail on the head there, man. Even if it's only one or two things that you change, that was the reason why, by choosing habits right now, like as our theme, like you change one bad habit that you have, whether you drop a bad habit or turn it into a good one, like the amount of growth that you can see just from changing that one thing, in your business, can be astronomical. So that's where we really want to encourage everybody that comes to pick, 1 to 3, singular focus items that we can say, okay, make the change with this over the next 12 months and see where it takes you,
Yeah, I love it. Guys, I think this is great. I'm super excited for this conference. You guys want to add anything else before we wrap up this episode?
We're all friends.
Oh,
We're
go
all
ahead.
We're all friends
What
here.
was I was embarrassing myself horribly. I know that. I don't remember how, but I remember I just kept saying we're all friends.
But see, he got up there, he got vulnerable, and then he got into everybody was his friends in there, and he breaks down these walls, and that's what we do at these small events, right? Like everybody comes out.
That is for people who have heard me present, that was definitely a different kind of presentation. Danny Kerr of Breakthrough Academy. I like Danny a lot. He actually said, hey, you're not very good at that. Like you should present the way that you present because this isn't your lane. Well, I appreciate the candor. I try. Opened up, it's kind of awkward, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, Brandon.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It was awesome.
And that right now we're sitting at around 60 people signed up for this event. Like Cole was saying in the beginning, our goal is to hit 100 at least. So get out there and get signed up on this, and go to PCA website and sign up to this event so we can hit our goal at least.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate your time. Super excited for this event. Really, really happy with what we've put together for it. And yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks for sharing all this.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Brandon.
Thank you for having us.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.